me, Larisa Love, Joico Global Brand Ambassador. I'm so excited to be teaching my double ash blonde technique. So today what you'll be learning is design depth and dimension and how to add brightness with the depth included. And also if you're having trouble formulating ash blondes and if you're getting to more of a gray or blue or green hue to your formulas, then this is a technique that you don't want to miss. So this is my beautiful doll head, and I actually did the technique on this side on her already, but I did not tone her, so you'll be able to learn two things today, my foiling technique and then also my toning technique, and all my favorite formulas as well for ash tones. I just want to show you a close-up of this beautiful dimensional blonde that I did. As you can see, I'm designing depth, and then I'm creating brightness. So it's maintaining that beautiful brightness around the face and pretty much all throughout, having that beautiful pops of brightness, but then having those really articulate added depth into the color so that way that the color can pop. All right, so I'm gonna actually go ahead and section this side out of the way because we will be formulating and toning her later. So this is a technique that's going to be covering the full head, well, half of the head, I guess you'd say. And if you guys have any questions, please ask away. And May, that is behind the camera, will be asking all those questions, and hopefully I can answer them for you.
That looks gorgeous.
Thank you. All right, she is sectioned out. All right, so as you guys know how obsessed I am with Defy Damage by Joico, and this is a product that I prep all of my clients, myself, my doll heads, my models with before I start any color service. So what I love about it is that it's gonna make the hair 5 times stronger, it's gonna reduce 80% less breakage, and maintain 90% more color vibrancy. And my favorite is going to give you greater and even lift. We know that with some bond builders, you have to up your developer. Well, with this one, it's going to actually give you greater and even lift using the same formula. You don't have to adjust your timing or your formula or your developer, which is so amazing. And it's really, really simple to use. Literally, all you do is spray and go. So I'm going to go ahead and start in the back. I'm going to section her out. I'm going to take horizontal sections. I'm going to shake the can pretty vigorously. And in short bursts, about 2-3 inches away from the hair, I'm going to spray down. All right, I'm going to keep moving up the head, doing the same exact motion. And I find it that the more you shake it, the less fuming the product is. Okay, once you're done spraying into the hair, I just want to show you guys the beautiful shine it creates. Also, I like to comb through, so that way you get even distribution. But look at that incredible shine that it gives to the hair. This also can be used as a standalone product. So for example, if you're doing a client, she's coming in just for a toner or even for a trim, you can spray this in the hair and have an extra add-on to your service without having to cut any time in your service at all. Because the minute it goes into the cuticle, it's already doing its job. It's already reducing the breakage and adding vibrancy and re-strengthening the bonds. So that is really incredible if you guys wanted to do an add-on service. All right, for the sides, you're gonna do diagonal forward sections, and then you're gonna spray away from the base. All right, beautiful. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and section her out. So for the first section, what we're gonna do is we're gonna pivot the comb, and then wherever the comb pivots is where we're gonna actually take the section from. Why I like to do that is if you take a section from the top of the crown and you do the highlights here, especially if you're just doing a partial, all of this in the back is going to show. If you take a section a little bit below the crown, then these highlights that you did at the top will fall back, and it's going to look like almost like you did a full head of color with her hair being fully down. So I like to pivot a little bit below the crown and then take that section, and we're going to take it all the way forward right above her eyebrow arch. Okay. We're gonna go ahead and section this out of the way. All right, next section, what we're gonna do is we're basically gonna just follow this guide right here from the very bottom all the way to the other side where we're gonna meet in the middle center. Make sure it's nice and straight. I'm gonna clip this out of the way. All right, and then this is gonna be one section right here. So all in all, if I was doing a full head, you would have 6 sections, 3 sections on each side. All right, beautiful. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. I'm gonna go ahead and start pre-lightening her with Joico Blonde Light Powder Lightener. What I love about it is it gives 9+ levels of lift. It also has exotic oils, so when it starts lifting, it's gonna keep the hair nice and moist and strong. And I'm starting off with level 5. And I wouldn't recommend starting off with level 5 on an actual client, but because she was pre-lightened and then I toned her down, she's very blonde on her knees. So that's why it's also important to know the history of your clients. The history of my doll head was that she was already a level 9. And then I toned her down to a level 6. So we're gonna start off with level 5 developer. Again, I'm using Joico Blonde Light Powder Lightener. And the ratio is 1:1. You want a nice creamy consistency. That's when you know you got the right consistency. All right, let's get started. All right, so this is a technique on my double ash blonde. It's gonna be, basically just think about, she wants to be really blonde. She wants her blonde all the way up to the roof. She wants to be super cool toned blonde. So I'm not gonna be doing a lot of teasing in my highlights, actually none at all. I'm gonna be bringing the color all the way up, and then we're gonna be dropping the color down with a shadow root with my toning method, which you guys will see later on. So this is a slightly different technique than what I normally teach, because you know I love a very, very low maintenance look, and I love to tease so you get that beautiful blended root. In this case, it's gonna be slightly different. And we all know also that ashes are much more high maintenance. So this is not a low maintenance technique at all, okay? All right. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. We're gonna go ahead and get started in the frontal center. What we're gonna do, and this is what I do for all of my clients, no matter what method or technique I'm doing, I always do a baby light around the hairline. And when I say baby light, I literally mean like 2-3 strands each around the hairline, because when they wear their hair up, I want it to look very sun-kissed and not stripy whatsoever. So I really am super detailed when it comes to the hairline. Okay. I'm using also from our pop-up foils. I really love them. 1, they're just really easy because they pop up. But 2, they have embossed texture. So the minute you apply color on it, it's going to stay. It is not going to slip. All right, really making sure that everything is nice and saturated. And whenever I get close to the root, whether I'm doing it teased or not, I always go against a grain of the hair just to blur out that line. You never want to go in and just finish it off with a harsh demarcation line like that. You're already leaving room for a grow out look. Okay, so if you go in against the grain of the hair like this, you're just feathering her out and blurring out those lines. All right. Now my next section, and this is again totally up to you on this in this next section is whether you want to take a slice or a bold light or a regular highlight. I'm going to take a slice because I want there to be lots of brightness around the face. Okay, now you want to make sure that your slice is nice and thin. If it's too thick, then it won't be ensured that it's fully saturated, and then that's just leaving room for a color correction. And you don't want that. I'm trying to make your life easier, not harder. So you want to make sure that you see through it within the foil.
And would you just do a recap on how you prep the doll head and till right now?
So for those of you that are tuning in right now, I am teaching my double ash blonde technique. And this is a technique where the girl, she wants to be really blonde. She wants to be cool toned. This is not a low maintenance look for no matter, but this is a beautiful dimensional, multi-dimensional blonde. I'm going to showcase how to create the pops of brightness and pops of depth into the hair. And I prepped her with Joico Defy Damage Pro 1. We all know how much I love it and how obsessed I am with it. It makes the hair 5 times stronger, reduces 80% less breakage, maintains 90% more color vibrancy, and gives greater and even lift. And then I'm starting in the top front center with Joico Blonde Life Powder Lightener Level 5. All right, so for my next section, this is again up to you as well, whether you want to take a regular light, full light, or slice. I would recommend at least doing one slice in the front just to add that pop of brightness. My next one, I'm going to do another slice because I want it to be extra pop. So we're going to go ahead and take a slice. Now, what I'm going to be doing is as I'm working towards the back of the crown, I'm going to be pivoting slightly, okay? So I'm going to be pivoting this way, diagonally, all the way up to the top of the crown. So I'm going to go ahead and pivot a little bit. As you guys can see. And still my slice is nice and thin. And we're going to go ahead and saturate that. Now, if you really want to ensure that your highlight or color that you're lightening, your slice, your baby light, low light, or not low light, your baby slice, bold light, if you want it to be fully saturated, you need to make sure that it's nice and thin. If you take too thick of a section, then you might not be able to saturate everything. And then that leaves room for color correction. You guys can see also that I'm really penetrating with my brush, the section, making sure that everything is nice and saturated. That is key, you guys. Otherwise, you're making your life much more harder if it's not saturated. And you guys can see as I go closer to the root, I'm blurring it out by going against the grain of the hair. Okay. Also, as I'm moving forward up, if I just folded my foil like this, this would be in the way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it exactly the same way where the crease is. So that way I'm setting myself up for success. Which this one as well. All right. Now my next section, I'm going to pivot again a little bit. Move up towards the top of the crown, so you can see. So see how I'm pivoting up a little bit? So everything is just slightly angled, all focusing mainly, the focal point is the top front money piece section. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and take a regular light, a regular highlight. And I'm leaving this out because this depth is going to make my 2 slices pop. Okay, you need to have negative space in order to create brightness, in order to create light. So if I oversaturate with highlights or slices, then all of my blonde would blend in. So it's so important to leave out depth like that to make your pieces brighten up.
That is so important because sometimes I feel like we over foil trying to create that pop of brightness.
We overcomplicate sometimes when we don't need to. Sometimes less is more, you guys. And even though this is still a high maintenance look, does not mean that she needs to be in the salon for hours and hours. She can come in, get her hair highlighted, get her hair nice and toned to a beautiful ash color, and go about her day. Now, also what I love about having techniques too is that when they come back, you know exactly how to resection them to bring up the color. So again, I'm gonna go ahead and fold this right here on the side, but then I'm gonna fold the side like this, just following that outline of that section. All right.
And quick question, I just saw someone ask, when you blur out the at the top of the foil, do you ever get warmth because it's not fully saturated?
That's a great question. Because my slices are pretty thin, just because my slices are pretty thin, it's pretty saturated. But if you feel like you are getting that warmth, which sometimes can happen when it's not fully saturated, you're always gonna have to go in with a shadow roux. And this is where your toner comes into play. Toner is so important. I don't recommend not toning ever. Even if you get to the tone that you want, and I'll talk more about why toning is so important. But it's so important because it's gonna add the shine, it's gonna seal in that cuticle, and many, many other reasons. I don't wanna get off track, but always tone, you guys. All right, so now my next section, I'm gonna slightly pivot. Can you see that? So underneath is my depth, and then on top is my brightness. And then I'm gonna go ahead and take a regular light.
And if you were doing the whole head, how would you go about sections?
Well, I am doing the whole head.
Will you do, but lightening the whole head? Will you go one half and then the other half at the top, and then how will you move around it?
Great question. I don't know if that was a May question. Was that a good question?
Somebody asked.
Oh, okay. That's a really good question. So if I'm doing the whole head, I'm like, I am. So what I would do is I go back and forth for each side. So I'm doing the left side of this, or wait, I'm doing the right side of this, then I'm gonna go back and do the same exact thing on the left side, and then move to this side, and then move to the other side. So I wouldn't be doing half and half because I want everything to lift nice and evenly.
Can you use this technique for a side part?
Yeah, absolutely. You can use this technique. The only thing is that this is more of a full head. So it doesn't really matter what side it is or not. And also, I just want to say, I don't ever do any of my techniques for a side part or any part. You can literally throw it around, doesn't matter. All my looks are very cohesive for any side. I don't believe in doing a color cut to a certain side, because what if you decide to change it up? Everything should always be cohesive. So I'm going to go ahead and fold this. And then this section right here, I'm going to go ahead and section this out. Now you guys can see that I'm basically completely horizontal now with this section. So the more horizontal you are, the more room you can cover with your brightness of your highlights. Again, leaving this out for depth underneath. I like to have depth underneath and then brightness on top. So that way, again, the brighter pieces can pop. And this is really only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 foils. So that's not a lot of foils in the results that it gives. Obviously, it depends on the client, if she has thicker hair or not. You'll be doing more foiling, more sections. But my model, she's got, fine hair. So I'm moving up to my developer level 10. If you guys have been following my techniques, you all know that I go up on my developers by 5 instead of 10. Because I want the color to lift nice and slowly and evenly and not have the back catch up. So if I start, for example, with level 10 originally, I'll go up to 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. And how you create 15, half and half of 10 and 20. makes 15. And I've been literally utilizing that technique, that method, probably since I've started doing hair. And I'm going by 1 scoop. And again, it's 1-to-1 ratio. And I am using Blonde Life Powder Lightener. And I love it because it gives 9+ levels of lift. It has exotic oils, so it's keeping the hair nice and moist as it's lifting.
And of course, you also prepped your doll head with Defy Damage Pro Series 1, which is going to help you with that even lift.
Yes, thank you, May.
You're welcome.
You want to take over? I'm going to make sure that this is nice and saturated.
Someone asked if you can use Defy Damage with any other liners.
You can use Defy Damage with before anything that you do, before any service, with any product, but it's recommended to use with Joico products.
And for those of you asking how to tone without getting a green hue, let's wait for the toning section.
Yes. So for those of you that are tuning in, I'm going to be teaching my favorite ash formulas and how to get that perfect ash tone result without having that gray or green or blue hue to the hair. Because we all know that has happened to probably the best of us. I know it's happened to me, and we all learn from our mistakes. All right, so we are done with this section. What I'm going to do is I'm going to braid this hair pretty tight, especially because I need to work on this side. So I want to make sure that I'm setting myself up for success, having everything nice and clean. And I always say clean sections equals clean results. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started on this side. We're going to do another baby light. And again, for any technique that I ever do, I always make sure that I'm very articulate with my front hairline and literally do about 2-3 strands from each baby light that I take, because I want it to look very sun-kissed and natural around the hairline. And I am using Blonde Life Powder Lightener level 10 now.
That's also a great tip, because if your clients wear their hair up, as soon as they throw that, it's going to look very diffused and sun-kissed, right?
Exactly. And adding to that diffusion, you want to go against the grain of the hair. So that way it's very nice and sun-kissed. You'd never want to go in and tap your lightener like that, because it's going to leave room. It's going to leave demarcation line. You want to go against the grain of the hair just to blur it out a little bit. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get as close as possible to the hairline. Double, triple fold, so that way everything's away from the face. Now, you guys remember that the top front, I did 2 slices. So whenever I'm doing multiple slices at the top, I always do 1 slice less on the bottom section, because we want the brightness to really be focused at the top front, but we still don't want to lose that brightness around the sides. So 1 less slice is my motto. Again, still nice and see-through. And we are not doing any teasing. We want the color to be as close up as possible towards the front or towards the top of the hair. And if you guys have any questions, please ask away. Right now is your time to ask anything that you guys desire.
Can you repeat how to get 15 volume?
So for those of you that are tuning in, we all know, well, for those of you that have been following me and my techniques, that I love to use my developers by levels of 5 instead of 10. So if I'm starting with level 10, I like to move up 15, 20, 25. And why I like to do that is because I like everything to lift nice and evenly. And that way we don't have to wait for the last section to be lifted. And how you make 15 or 25 is 15 is half and half of 10 and 20, and 25 is half and half of 20 and 30. Trust me, your life will be changed if you guys go up by your developers in 5. All right, so my next section, you guys can see that I have pivoted pretty slightly. And I'm gonna take a regular light. And this underneath is gonna be my depth. I'm gonna get as close as possible to the root. And we're gonna saturate. You guys can see that I'm going in circular motion with my brush, and I'm really digging in. And then as I get closer towards the top of the hairline or the root, I'm gonna get as close as possible, go against the grain of the hair. And then you guys see right here, I'm gonna follow the same line or the same sectioning with my foiling. So that way I'm setting myself up for success doing the back here. I'm gonna keep pivoting. And this is a technique that's really focusing my brightness a lot in the front. It's still creating a lot of dimension and brightness everywhere else. But because I'm pivoting, I'm ensuring that there's gonna be lots of brightness around the front. Reason being is because I'm always taking a highlight in the front top section, right here.
If you wanted to go a little darker on the hair that's left out, can you add permanent color or any other color to it?
If you guys want to add, color the hair in between the foils, you absolutely can go in with a toner and color the hair. If you're doing a base color as well, I would tap on the root first. Then, if you're doing permanent, then do the foiling, and then do the mid to ends in between the foils. That's how I do my base color and my highlights all at the same time. And when I mean tap the root, I mean literally just tap the root slightly. That way you still have room to go up really high with your color, and then drop that color down in between your foils once you're done with your highlights. All right, again, I'm sectioning that out, and I don't even have to fold here. And now we're moving up to level 15. Again, I'm going up on my developers by 5. So 15, and I'm using Lumishine for the developer. 15, how you make it is half and half of 10 and 20. You want it nice and creamy, and the ratio is 1 to 1. All right, last foil, and look, you guys, it's pretty horizontal. And you can add more if you wanted to, but because we're somewhat low on time, I'm just gonna go over with the last foil here and leave all of this for depth. Again, I'm fully saturating, going in circular motion. I'm really building in on that product. I'm penetrating it with my brush, not leaving any room for error for it to not be saturated. And then as I get closer to the root, I still see that when I'm feathering down or I'm going down with my brush, I'm really penetrating with my brush and saturating it. When I'm going against the grain of the hair, I'm going softly and feathering it and blurring out that line. All right, so this is all of my depth in between. Again, depth underneath and brightness above. And you will be able to see the finished results on my Instagram, on Behind the Chairs Instagram, and on Joyka's Instagram. All right, now for the last section, we're gonna go ahead and go over here to the bottom.
So if we were to do half head, would that be it?
If you would do a half head, I wouldn't even recommend this technique for a half a head because this is such an easy technique for a full head. All you have to do is add in a couple more foils and you have a full head of highlights. This is not really a partial, this is a full head. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna start on the bottom. We're gonna take a diagonal forward section towards the middle center. And I'm gonna take tiny little baby lights again. This is where I go in and refine and detail. And my baby lights are literally like 2-3 strands each. Because even if she doesn't see it, other people will see their hair when they wear their hair up. So you wanna make sure that their hair looks incredible, worn down or up. For other techniques, if you're doing a partial, I would recommend just doing this highlight right here on the bottom, because that just showcases that you really care about the details. So pop in a highlight right here and on the other side. So when they wear their hair up, it looks like they have almost a full head of highlights done. And it's not so dark underneath.
And you'd be surprised of the difference that one foil can do, right?
One foil can really make a huge difference. Also, you guys saw that I angled my foil. I feel like it's so normal for me to do that I didn't even talk about it. But I angled my foil like this. So if you're taking a longer slice section and the whole section you can't cover, or if it's just easier because you're going along with the same sectioning, I like to angle my foil by angling it right here with my rat tail comb and then folding the foil right here. You can take a much longer slice that way. And the more you angle it, the longer of a slice section that you can take. I have a lot of techniques that are fully angled foils, and they make such a huge difference, and they cut out your application time in half just by angling it, because you can take larger sections. Now, if you are angling it, it's really important to enclose this way. You can either sandwich it with another foil, or you can go ahead and fold it one time, fully over, and then fold it over that fold, or that crease, and then crease it over the crease like so. And then you want to make sure that you crease the bottom so it's nice and sandwiched together and it's not going to slip. Okay. And then I'm just going to go in and add, you know what, I'll just go ahead and add one more foil to this, and then that way we can start with the formulation. So normally I would take another section and another section. And as I keep moving forward, you know what? I'll go ahead and do it. We're not
good
that
on
low
time,
on
yeah.
time. So I'm going to go ahead and take another angled foil. And I'm pivoting, but there's not much room to pivot. So this is basically my way of pivoting on the side, on the back. I'm going to take a regular light. And I'll show you guys how I angle my foil. I'll just put it right here on my rat tail comb, fold it, and I'm able to take a really nice long slice. And I am still on level 15. And I started with level 5 because she was pre-lightened already, and then I toned her down to level 6. So she's pretty blonde underneath. And again, we're creating a really nice, beautiful ash blonde look. And we want it to be nice and bright all the way up to the root. So we're not doing any teasing whatsoever. We're just going up towards the root as high as possible. Now we're going to fold this once. Then we're going to fold this another time over that crease, and then fold it at the crease, and then fold the bottom so that way it's nice and tight. Now pivoting, I would be pivoting this way if I had room, but we have one more section anyways, and you're going to end up basically fully horizontal in the back top section.
Now, will you tell me why you started in the front? I don't know if we mentioned it, but somebody asked.
So I almost always, I would say 100% of the time.
I was going to say 99.9.
I always start in the front whenever I'm lightening. Now, the reason why is because hair is most damaged, most compromised where? In the front. So starting off with a lower developer where it can lift slow and steady instead of starting in the back where it's nice and healthy and then finishing off with a really high developer in the front. So I like to finish off in the back, especially right here in the crown area, lower crown area, where it's most healthiest with the highest developer. So I would highly suggest if you're highlighting, start in the front, slow and steady wins the race, and the hair can be nice and strong. Now, if, you know, for some reason you're just foiling and she has a lot of hair, thick hair, you know, I still would rather start in the front, even if they're finished. Go in, take the foils out, wash it out, and then finish in the back if I needed to, instead of finishing off with the highest developer in the front. All right, so this is the double ash blonde technique. Super simple, getting all the foils super high up, creating lots of brightness in the front with my slices, and then depth in between by pivoting. This will create lots of brightness and make the brighter pieces pop by having this dimension, okay? Now, we're gonna go ahead and get started on this side, and I'm gonna be talking about my favorite thing, toning. I love toning. I think it's so important to tone, even if you get to the lift that you want, because it's gonna make the hair shinier. It's gonna seal in the cuticle. Also, what I love about the Joico Lumishine, they have a demi-cream and they have a liquid, is that it has RG-Plex technology, which it has a built-in bond builder already, and it's gonna make the hair 2 times shinier. So it's sealing the cuticle, it's strengthening the bonds, and it's making the hair shinier. So if you like the level of tone, even just do clear, because it has RG-Plex technology. So that's a good one to know. All right, I'm gonna leave this away.
All right. That looks so pretty.
My mouth is like, okay, so now I know that I've had trouble formulating for ashes. It's hard sometimes because sometimes the client's just like, I still see yellow or I see orange, whatever, and it's like, your hair's clear. You know, and so there's a fine line between it being too ashy and having that gray, green, blue hue, and then not ash enough, you know. I also think it's really important to let your client know and have a full consultation with them that is a much more high maintenance look, because all color always fades back to what we lifted it to, which is always going to be a banana yellow. And speaking of banana yellow, if you want to get the perfect bright ash blonde, you have to lift. Lift is key to having a gorgeous ash color. So if you don't lift her enough, there's no toner that can fix the color. It's not gonna lift it. So you always have to have a banana yellow, which is this color, for you to be able to even create an ash blonde, all right? Now, you still can create ash colors on a not banana yellow, but it's not gonna be a level 10. It's not gonna be a level 9. It's gonna be maybe a level 8 or 7, which you can do, you know, more of a dark ash blonde or bronze, like ash brown. So I'm gonna be using liquid Lumishine today, and I'm gonna be showing you how to do a multi-dimensional tone. This is not with only ashes. You can use this technique with any toner or any color look that you want. So Joico has demi creams, and then they have liquid Lumishine as well. The liquid is more sheer, and it's gonna blend the grays. The demi cream is more opaque. It's gonna give 100% gray coverage. So if you have a client that's growing out her grays and she wants to be full gray, this is probably your toner that you want to do. If she still wants to completely cover it until all her gray comes out or grows out, then I would still do demi cream because it's much easier to lift out than permanent, okay? Again, it has RG-Plex technology, so it has a built-in bond builder. It's gonna keep sealing the cuticle, it's gonna strengthen the hair, and it's gonna make the hair 2 times shinier. A lot of people ask me, what product did you use on your clients so shiny? Honestly, I don't use a lot of product. It's mainly the product of the toner that makes the hair super shiny. So I'm gonna be doing 2 different formulas, and I'm gonna have a slightly darker tone, which is like a level 8, and then lighter level 10. So it becomes multi-dimensional, but also still nice and bright, right? All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and start. So always want to tone with level 5. Okay. So for my first formula, I am going to do her low light, which is also going to be her teardrop. Almost always, whatever I'm teardropping with, if I want to add dimension to the hair, I'll use that same teardrop formula for the low light. Or you can use a different formula if you want it to be like a tri-color, slightly darker and a little bit lighter. Okay. Also, what I forgot to say is it's a pre-blended color. That's probably the most important thing to a busy stylist. You guys, I know everyone's back to work now. Holidays are over. We can all officially legally go back to work. So we're busy. And it is a pre-blended color, meaning it has all 3 primary colors in it. So you don't have to worry about, oh my gosh, I need to add a drop of this or this or this for it not to be too green or too gray or too whatever. It's already neutralized for you. So a lot of times I'll throw, for example, a 4N on a level 9. And I don't have to add my filler in because the filler already is in that tone. Amazing, right? I know. I wish I could hear you guys. Okay, so I'm gonna be doing, for her low light, we will be doing 1 ounce of 6SB, which is a silver blue. I like to use SBs a lot when the hair is coppery or brassy. The blue will cancel it out. Just think about anything, just think about the color wheel. Blue is opposite of orange, correct? So it's gonna cancel out that tone for me, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and do 1 ounce of 6SB. Oh, I didn't put it, sorry, not 1 ounce. Wait, yeah, it's on ounces. Okay, I'm confusing myself. All right, so 1 ounce of 6SB. And then we will do a couple drops of 7B. Now, their violets are very pigmented, guys, especially the 7B and the 9B. So if you are going to be using this, just keep in mind, I would mix it with a neutralizer with an N, because they are very, very pigmented, unless you want to have that violet tint to the hair. But it will really cancel out that orange, okay? So I'm gonna do just a cap of 7B. You know what, let's add 2 caps. And then the AAs, oh my gosh, if you guys haven't tried the AAs yet, they just came out and they are life-changing. I'm so happy and excited I get to finally talk about this because I've been using it for about a year now, and honestly, my ash game has been on fleek. It's amazing. They come with liquid form and permanent. They have 6AA, 5AA, and 8AA. And honestly, they're life-changing. They're very, very pigmented. So I would say this is the one, if you're gonna do any color, don't do this on its own. If it's a level 9 or lighter, because it will leave a green hue. This is something that I would add in with an N just to neutralize it, or with another color. Like even an SB will help neutralize it, okay? And we'll do, and honestly, I'm very frugal with the AAs because it is very strong. We're gonna do just a cap of that. And then we'll do 8N. And this is kind of like my safe place. So if you guys are still starting to formulate with ashes, and if you want to make sure that you're safe, always adding an N with your AA, that's just room for success right there, right? And we'll go ahead and do 1 ounce of that. All right, and then we'll go ahead and mix it with level 5. And it's always 1-to-1 ratio. If you guys have any questions about formulations, right now is your time to ask. I think with formulating, it's just really important to think about the color wheel. And then honestly, just go back to what you learned in beauty school, because the color wheel is your best friend.
Fundamentals, right?
Always the fundamentals. Okay. Okay, Now for her brighter pieces for highlight, what I'm gonna use is 10V. This is probably one of my number one go-tos for bright blondes, cool tone blondes. It's not as pigmented as a 9V, I would say, because 9V is obviously a shade darker, so it's going to be more pigmented, more of have a hue of violet into it. So I would mix 9V or 7V with a natural. 10V I will do on its own because of the level that it is. And it really cancels out a lot of the warmth, if not all the warmth, and makes a beautiful cool tone blonde. Not necessarily ash, because it is a violet, but it's a cool tone blonde. And we're talking about cool tone blondes. And I'm going to do 1 ounce of 10V. Again, one of my number one go-tos.
Someone asked, why did you add a level 6 on her toner for a level 9 blonde? I think she added a level 8.
I added a level 8 because I mixed 6 and 8 together. So actually a level 7, but because I wanted to go for adding dimension and I want to go a little bit darker. And also remember, liquid is more sheer, so it's going to give me even a slightly lighter effect, I feel like. And then we're adding a level 9.5 to her brighter pieces, so it looks multi-dimensional and the levels don't blur together, okay? And then, so I'm doing 10V, and I'm going to add a cap of 8AA. Now, honestly, my secret formula that I have been using, I would say like past 2 months, and I have not shared this with anyone yet. So you guys are the first to hear this. I've been obsessing adding A's with my V's. I feel like the AAs are so strong, so it's very scary just using it on its own because it's double A. But adding a V to it neutralizes it and makes a beautiful ash blonde. So if you ask me what is the perfect go-to for a formula that's going to be gorgeous ash and bright, this would probably be my go-to. 10V with a cap of 8AA, depending on the warmness of her color. Maybe you can add another cap of 8AA. I would go slow and steady with this. Add more in of 8AA if needed. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and add 1 ounce of 9SB, which is silver blue. And again, if you just have any like slight brassy pieces that are just like peeking through, this is going to be something that neutralizes it completely.
So someone's asking, for those that want to stay super blonde, would you mix clear into the toner rather than a neutral?
That is a great question. So I would mix clear if I feel like I'm taking if I'm taking a long time toning, but I almost never really use clear because again, this is a pre-blended color. So I'm setting myself up for success just by using Lumishine from Joyco. I'm not afraid that it's going to be too green or too gray or too blue because it's already, the filler is in the color for me. But if you guys are still slightly not familiar with Joyco Lumishine or just formulating in general, I would add in a neutral or natural or clear, but probably more of a natural to be safe. Okay. What I like to do is that I'd rather take the risk and I'll just put on that extra ash, extra violet into the hair, and then I'll go in and retone again, adding a natural over it. So that's kind of like my little tip. Don't tell anyone.
And you guys have to think that 10N or 8N has the N, which clear doesn't, right? So that's like where you said that's your safe space.
The 10N, yes, it has all the primary colors in it. So that's my safe place that I know it's going to neutralize. It's not going to add warmth. It's not going to add anything. It's just going to neutralize and keep it nice and safe for me. But if I really wanted to go super ashy, and for a client that says that she sees yellow, even though the color is clear, I would probably just go with straight violet and AA. Again, the AAs are very pigmented, so add capfuls and then move forward, adding more if you need it. Okay, so we have 10 minutes left, and I want to show you guys my multi-dimensional method on how to tone. So at the top,
and here you are doing it on dry hair, but usually you tone.
Yes. And
on
actually,
wet
you
hair.
know what? I'm going to go ahead and
Sprayer?
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and prep her again with Joico Defy Damage Pro 1. So if a client comes in and she's like, oh, I don't want to come in just for a toner, this is a great way to prep the hair. That way the color can last longer. It can be 90% more vibrant. It reduces 80% less breakage. And it's so fast to use. Literally all you do is shake the can and then spray every section, and then you can start. I'm gonna comb through for even saturation. And just look at that shine it gives. Like, honestly, it's so incredible. I've been using this product for, oh my God, I don't know, like 2-3 years now, maybe more. And I'm still in awe. So this is also the method and the technique for my double ash blonde that I did. What you guys learned earlier. Look how beautiful that is. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and start in the back. Actually, no, I'm gonna go ahead and teardrop her. And this is what I'd be normally doing at the bowl with my Formula 1, which is my low light, darker level 7 formula. And I'm gonna shadow root by adding a slight teardrop. Barely grazing at the top, at the front. If at all, I'll leave that sometimes for last. And then I'm gonna teardrop. I'm gonna shadow root in a teardrop effect. So I'm gonna go slightly at the top and then go in a circular teardrop motion, literally just going with the shape of the head. If I did a horizontal shadow root all the way around, you're creating a harsh line, which is gonna look like it's grown out already. Okay, normally what I do is I'm gonna section this front out. And I'm gonna section this away. And I'm gonna just start in the back.
Someone asked, do you always shadow root or smudge or root tap your clients?
That's a great question. So if I am bringing the highlights all the way to the top, then yes, I will shadow root. But for those of you guys that know, I teach a lot of techniques with teasing method. So it has that beautiful blended effect without a shadow root. I'm creating shadow root with my teasing method. And if you guys want to go back, I have so many free classes on that on Joico's channel, Instagram page, on their website, which is joico.com/education on demand. And also there's over 190 videos that are for free, step-by-step for you. And so no, I don't always shadow root, but if I'm bringing up the highlights all the way to the top, then yes, I will. This is also a little good tip for you guys. So whenever you're toning, and if you don't have an assistant, if you're starting in the back, right, it's really annoying to have to section this hair, hold this, then you're trying to tone this, and you need to have that tension, and it's just really hard to do everything. So what I do is I start at the top of the crown here, and that way I can hold that tension, and I can do every section. Tension at the top, and then tension at the bottom. When you're toning, especially with darker shades, you definitely want to have that tension so you have a nice, clean, blank canvas to work with.
Someone's asking, so can you darken a level 9 to say a level 6 with Lumishine without filling in?
Great question. You absolutely can. I have, and obviously it depends. Like if you're using an 8A, like I said before, that's something I would mix in natural with. But yes, you absolutely can, for example, use a level, even 3N on a level 8, and it's gonna fully saturate the hair and not leave any hue in the hair because it's pre-blended. So again, Joico's just making you guys' life easier by not having to think about the formula, you know, or be afraid that it's not gonna be fully saturated. Now at the top, I'm taking diagonal back sections, and I'm going in a teardrop method. Again, I'm still starting at the top of the crown and working my way down so I have that tension. Especially when you're working around the hairline, tension is so key. And again, you guys will be able to see the finished results on my Instagram, on Joico's Instagram, and on Behind the Chairs Instagram. Okay, so I went ahead and saturated everything and created a shadow root in a teardrop method. This is so important to tone that way, so that way everything is beautifully blended. And then we're gonna start in the back. I call this my octopus method because when you're toning in the bowl, all the different sections look like an octopus. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and take a diagonal back section, starting in the back. I'm gonna weave out a bold light. So literally 3 bold highlights.
Let's move her a little bit. There we go. Perfect.
3 bold highlights. And I'm gonna choose this to be on the side, my brighter piece. So I'm gonna use Formula 2 for this side. Okay, now, again, I'm doing a teardrop method, so I'm taking my Formula 1, my shadow root, and I'm gonna bring it down a little bit in a teardrop formation, right? And then this side, the middle of the highlight, is gonna be my Formula 1, which is my low light. All right, now my next section, another diagonal back. I'm gonna take another bold light. And now the side here, the darker piece is gonna overlap the brighter piece on the front.
So that will be Formula 1.
So this is gonna be Formula 1. So that way, everything is multi-dimensional. You have these beautiful ash tones coming through, blurring, blending together, instead of just overlapping the same formula over and over again. And now the middle is gonna be my highlight. And I'm keeping everything separate. So my highlight is over here, and then my low light is over here, so I know exactly what I'm doing. And then same thing in the back again. I'm gonna take another bold light, and what I'm gonna overlap here is with my brighter piece, which is Formula 2. And I'm bringing Formula 2 to the right side, and then Formula 1 to the left side. I always keep a damp towel on hand, so I'm cleaning my hands and making sure that I'm nice and clean. All right, now for the front side, what I do is I take diagonal forward sections. And this is really important to hear this, guys. So I'm taking this bold light, right? And I'm making sure that this is gonna be my brighter piece around the hairline. Okay, my middle is gonna be Formula 2, my low light.
Sorry, Formula 1.
Oh, sorry, yeah. Formula 1. Now, as I keep moving up, I'm taking diagonal forward sections. So normally, I'm taking a bold light. This would be Formula 2 on the sides, overlapping this. But I'm conscious about the money piece, so I take that out, and then I weave it out again. And now this is gonna be my Formula 1. So be conscious about the brighter piece. Now, you guys can add depth in the front, but I wouldn't recommend it because then it takes it away from the brighter slices that you guys took and all that beautiful work that you did. And then Formula 2. If you guys have any questions about formulation or about the technique that I taught today, you are more than welcome to DM me directly, and I will get back to you as soon as I can, or DM Joico or Behind the Chair. All right, now I'm grabbing again weave, and this will be my Formula 2, which is my brighter piece.
A lot of people are asking for the formulas, but we have 1 minute left.
No.
And I wanted to make sure you got all of that information in.
If you guys need formula questions, or if you want to know the formula, I'm sure it's written down, and if not, Joico will write it down once they post up the before and after videos, and you guys will be able to see the before and after of this full look. So we are done. I just want to show you really quick. I mean, it's been on for like a second, but look at how beautifully it's toning already. You can see. I love mixing violet and ashes. This will create the most beautiful multi-dimensional double ash blonde. I cannot wait for you guys to see the finished result. Anyways, my time is done, unfortunately. I love you all so much. Thank you all for tuning in. Again, if you'll be able to see the finished results on my Instagram, Larisa Daw, on Joico's Instagram, and I'm Behind the Chair's Instagram. If you guys want to see more free education, over 190 videos that are step-by-steps for free, you can go on joico.com/education on demand. Thank you guys for tuning in. I love you all. Mwah.